Because I remember going when it was one cinema and then was transformed into 4 screens and it felt like a rabbit warren. But I suppose that's progress in some respects. Yeah.
But then I also remember when the building was carved up in the horrible 70s and made into individual screens which were small and smelt of hot dogs. And I would always try and come to the main screen because even then I hated the small screens.
I think the last time it was separated and I saw the cabaret. The noise was totally different. The sound was really
sectioned off.
And it wasn't nice.
You needed section.
I never went again.
Oh, go there.
Yeah.
You were there on the last it was day, Waterworld. I'm sure it was Waterworld. In my mind, it was. And I said to my friend, and she said, "Well, it was. If it wasn't the last, it was amongst the last, definitely." Because I remember her saying to me because we got the films, you knew vaguely what was coming in a few weeks, and she said, that will be here when we're closing, and that's why it's sort of stuck in my mind, really. Yeah. And she said, if you remember, it was very quiet, and they were sort of moving things out, and it was quite a funny sort of feeling, really, because. I didn't want to leave.
Dave rang me up and said, did you know that the cinema was about to be closed? And I think both of us enjoyed going to the cinema, and we said, let's set up a campaign. So essentially we are both the original campaign organisers.
I think we were trying to help people to show the strength of freedom, that people wanted a cinema in the town, really. Ideally on that site, but I think just a cinema was the most important thing. Wherever it could be. And so what we did was we gave it some publicity and said that if people are feeling as outraged as we are, let's start a campaign, which we did. And I think our first major outing was we stood outside the cinema, and essentially it was toot if you want to save our cinema, and we had all the placards up. I think it was quite easy in a way, in terms of that people were so upset about the cinema closing that we were just facilitating the petition and organising the demonstration. Well, I think we really wanted to keep our heritage initially, and one of the things we did achieve, which essentially I think has been the most significant and important action, was making sure that the council built into their local plan that the Odeon, or the old cinema, would not be sold or redeveloped until a cinema facility was provided in St Albans. So that put off a whole load of plans that came through to turn the old cinema into blocks of flats or offices and things like that.
There we all were, in the council chamber, and there had been talk that James Hannaway of the Rex in Berkhamsted, the man who, flying by the seat of his pants, had turned this derelict place into one of the best cinemas in the country. I have seen inside the building, he said, and I could restore this. It's in a better condition than the Rex was when I first saw it. Here was a real possibility.